Hey, and welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. This is a weekly update for parents on all things social media and big tech. This update is for the week of May 27th, 2024. First off, let's talk about TikTok. You probably already know that a law was passed here in the US that forces TikTok's parent company called ByteDance, which is located in China, to sell TikTok to an American company, or we will remove TikTok from our app stores. This is an issue of national security, as well as a concern of the misuse of Chinese influence over millions of American citizens. One point around this that really gets me and I think is important to reflect on is that China offers their own TikTok product to minors in China, but with very strict limits. Kids can only use the platform for 40 minutes a day. They can't go on it at all between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And China limits the type of content to only educational or inspirational posts. Doesn't this sound drastically different from how our children are experiencing TikTok? China seems very concerned about how social media use is affecting their kids, as they should be. And as of this week, China even started banning posts showing luxurious lifestyles or wealth flaunting. So a wealthy influencer named Wang Hongquan had his entire profile removed from the Chinese version of TikTok. He would often brag to his 4.3 million followers that he never leaves the house in an outfit worth less than 10 million won, which is 1.38 million US dollars. He posts about his maids and his expensive sports cars. So China is censoring this content in an effort to inspire a greater sense of self-fulfillment rather than seeking psychological comfort through the internet. China does tend to be on the strong end of internet censorship, but I don't disagree with the fact that flaunting wealth on social media can cause other people to feel bad about their own lives. And again, it brings me back to the question, why is China so concerned about how TikTok affects their own citizens, but willing to serve American children eating disorder content and suicide posts? Hence the need to bring TikTok under the control of people who care about American kids, American parents. A top bidder to buy TikTok is American billionaire Frank McCourt. Frank is a real estate investor and entrepreneur. He previously owned the LA Dodgers and started Project Liberty, who is working to create a more open, inclusive, and responsible internet. Frank's team is putting together a bid to acquire TikTok and transform it so that users control their own data. He's bringing together a group of technologists, academics, and parents to advise on this new version of TikTok. And guess what? I got invited to be part of the conversation. So next week, I'll be in DC for a press conference and a chat with Frank McCourt and his team. On behalf of parents, I want to hear from you. If you have thoughts about how to make TikTok safer for us and our kids, or generally any thoughts on a safer internet, please message me or email me. Contact info is at scrollingtodeath.com. I will also be posting live clips from the press conference, so follow along on Instagram at scrollingtodeath. Next up, Big Tech continues to feel the pressure as lawsuits keep rolling in. 5 more Ontario, Canada school boards and 2 private schools filed lawsuits against Snapchat, TikTok, and Meta. These schools join the hundreds of others who are alleging that social media companies not only hurt students' well-being, but also their academic achievement. Schools are reporting increased phone use because of social media's addictive nature, which results in bullying, anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Kids are not socializing in person. They're not exercising. They're struggling. And schools have had to bring in extra staff and resources and programming to address behavioral and learning issues. So we have schools pissed off at Big Tech. We have parents pissed off at Big Tech. We have legislators, members of Congress, and senators telling Big Tech to stop addicting and harming our kids. And now we even have Meta's own shareholders protesting over child safety. Meta is now facing a shareholder revolt because of their continued failure to protect kids on their platforms. Shareholders have put together a proposal calling for more disclosures, more information on how Meta is going to do better. And Meta employees are at their breaking point too. Earlier this month, nearly 200 Meta employees signed a letter to Mark Zuckerberg demanding the company to put an end to alleged censorship and provide more transparency. Big Tech just has too much power. They are harming people, harming children. We keep seeing more states pass legislation to protect citizens, like Maryland Governor Wes Moore, who just signed into law the Maryland Kids Code, which will safeguard children's online privacy. But what about federal laws? Unfortunately, Big Tech is not going to protect our kids unless we force them to, which is such a sad thing to say. There are federal bills that will help. Last week, the House Energy and Commerce Committee held a markup on 2 bills, the Kids Online Safety Act and the American Privacy Rights Act. KOSA includes a duty of care, will save lives, and should have passed yesterday. APRA will establish a national consumer data privacy standard. One of the creators of APRA is Chair Kathy McMorris Rogers of Washington State. I interviewed Chair Rogers last week. You can watch and listen to that conversation to learn more about APRA and KOSA. And a reminder for parents here, big tech is spending millions of dollars lobbying against these bills that are literally created to keep our kids safe online. And we as parents have to speak up to get these passed. We have to tell our legislators to support kids' online safety bills like KOSA. So you can go to senate.gov, choose your state, and contact your senators. Then go to house.gov, enter your zip code, and contact your representatives in the House. It will literally take you a few minutes. Last update for today, and that is on the topic of sextortion. The BBC and many other outlets are reporting that they've found sextortion guides sold on social media. This is not new information. Cyber analyst Paul Raphael, who I recently interviewed, showed us public Facebook groups where these scammers share and trade information on how to exploit our children. Please listen to my interview with Paul to get educated on this epidemic. This is a massive threat to every child online, and big tech is not doing anything meaningful to stop sextortion, despite knowing about this problem for years and years. So parents, please get educated on this, talk to your kids, be their safe space when and if this does happen to them, because unfortunately we're losing many teenagers to suicide during a sextortion scheme. The latest loss was a 13-year-old boy named Timothy Barnett in South Carolina. He was targeted on Snapchat by a scammer who pretended to be a young girl, flirting and asking for a nude image. Once Timothy shared the photo, the scammer started asking for money, or the photo would be shared with Timothy's family and friends. It was too much for Timothy, and he took his own life on April 6th of this year. His mother shared, quote, "I really wish that we wouldn't have allowed Snapchat." And she is suing Snapchat in a wrongful death lawsuit, stating that Snapchat is defectively designed with features that make the platform unreasonably dangerous for minors like Timothy. Please join me in sending love and support to Timothy's family. And in his honor, let's keep our kids off Snapchat, and let's use our voices to support legislation like the Kids Online Safety Act, which will help keep our kids safe in situations like sextortion. That's it today for the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. Thank you for being part of this very important conversation. I will catch you next Friday with more updates.